so sometimes it's hard to have those hard conversations with people you love. Like me and my wife had a couple, I call it growth moments. They weren't even arguments. It's like when you're with somebody so long, just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's good, you know? And I've been with my wife 5 years total, but I say married about a year and a half. And we had a conversation one day where I was like, I was kind of fed up. I was like, yo, why I feel like you picking on me? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you always checking on me? And like, you always checking me. Like, you throwing jabs all the time. What happened? I said, this don't feel good. And she was like, I'm glad you brought that up because I did that because you did this. And I brought this up to you and you shut down. And this is how we got here. And I was like, wait, so you've been sitting on this too? Why didn't you say nothing? And she was like, well, because when I brought it to you, you had an attitude about it, so I stopped talking about it. So I went in my little hole and I started whatever. And I was like, wait, we both been in this funky little place and nobody said nothing. And when we finally said it, we got closer. And I feel like that's when the intimacy came because we said how we really feel. And I believe this is the time too, on a macro level and a micro level, where you have to say how you feel
Yeah.
in order to get the love and the life that you say you want. I have a lot of homegirls who complain about, their dating situation. And I was like, have you told the guy what you want? Have you said this is what I need in order to feel love? Because a lot of times, ladies, like, and I don't want to speak specifically to the ladies, but you have to tell somebody what you need in order for you to get what you want. Because you can't expect a stranger that you never met before to know what's in your head. And would you marry you if you knew your secrets? Would you really marry you if you knew your secrets? But you have to tell somebody what you need, especially like when you're in that courting phase and you're like, look, I like you a lot, but I feel like I'm really falling for you. You have to say, look, this is what I need to feel love in order for me to stay here. And usually a man's response will tell you where he is. If he tell you, hey, I'm cool with where we at, I ain't looking for nothing, I'm healing, yeah, let's take our time, or whatever, like whatever his reason is, that's your answer. And you should believe that. Like, because I have this theory. I feel like
Oh,
boys
and
give you questions.
let me throw something in on
Okay,
that.
go ahead.
And after that, Dave's got a comment too. After that,
I'll throw it
If
to her. I'll
he
give it to
ever
her.
tells you we cool or I'm cool, you have no future with him.
None.
Right.
Zero.
None.
Zero.
Right. And I feel like
just throwing that in there for free.
And I feel like boys give you questions and grown men give you answers. Same with girls and women. Like when I met my wife, a lot of the issues I had with my ex that I complained about daily, like this is what I need, my wife naturally did it. She answered all the questions. You would be with somebody and you like, am I crazy to think that? Am I crazy that they don't call me back? Am I crazy that their phone always goes dead at 10 o'clock? Am I crazy that when they go on trips they don't check on me? Yes, you're crazy. That is your answer. So I'm saying for you, you have to say what you want, say what you need, and stand on that. D-Bell, you gave a great analogy about when a person is trying to buy a car, the person who usually leaves gets the best deal.
Right.
But the person who stays at the dealership normally get talked out of their price point, and they usually pay more than that.
When you go buy a car, the name of the game is to get you to commit by getting you to stay as long as possible. And so the longer you're at that dealership, that's why you say, oh, I went to buy a car, it took hours. They're not that busy. I used to sell cars. What they're doing is creating commitment because you're investing. And the longer you're there, the more you've invested. So, I've been here an hour and a half. Do I want to leave having spent an hour and a half? So you're more likely to buy the car. But the person who gets the best deal is the person who's willing to walk away and doesn't need it that bad. And so you got to be the same way in terms of your mindset with relationships.
Absolutely.
You can't need it so bad that you can't walk away from it.
Hilarious. Ade, I see you shaking your head. Is there something you wanted to say?
Well, I agree. I agree with what he's saying. I also want to take it back for a minute when we talked about 2020 and everything that happened and how has it affected us up until this point. Everyone has been complaining about Trump and we all have our reasons why. But I believe in divine intervention, that certain things had to happen in a ripple effect in order for us to move in a certain direction. I believe that there had to be a Trump. I believe Trump had to get into office, that he had to be doing all the crazy things that he was doing for him to allow those that had that certain racism in them, that certain heart to feel comfortable enough to raise their heads and to show us that we weren't as clear as we thought we were as far as a country and suppressing racism and changing to show exactly what we were as a country. And then when that happened, we then had the pandemic. And then Trump then fails to act. All these things I think had to happen. Where would we have ever thought in the world that something could shut us all down at one time? But not just LA, not just the States, but the whole world had to stop and go in and listen. And we were at undivided attention. Everyone was paying attention to what was happening in the media, what's happening with our loved ones. You know, everyone was in a panic trying to get information. Then we had the situation happen with George Floyd. And the world is watching. The world is watching. So no longer is Black Lives Matter just a phrase in Los Angeles, a small organization. Now the whole world is seeing what the United States, how they treat their African-American citizens, how we've been treated, how we are still being treated. And so I think that when everyone talks about, oh, they hate things that would happen with Trump, that we have to realize that certain evils have to take place for us to move and for us to recognize them, then move in a different direction. I think because of the things that happened with Trump all the way to this point is how we ended up here, where we're looking at ourselves differently as a country, trying to see where we can fix certain things and putting our attention in certain places, but not just as a country, but us as a people too, and those relationships that we're talking about now. Now we are faced with each other face to face. We're on virtual calls, we're on Zoom, we're in our homes, and we're having to not only evaluate our country, but how we deal with each other. And as men and women, I think that we have sometimes, especially African-American men and women, we have not been on the same page for quite some time. And where that started, who knows? Did we pick up somebody else's battle and how they deal with their relations? Who knows? How do we pull away from each other? But we don't have what it takes to build a strong foundation. And I think it has a lot to do with our miscommunication. As simple as things like, what is dating? What is exclusive dating? What is hanging out? You know, I had a guy tell me we were dating because I went on a date with him. Nope, no, that was just coffee. But you going around telling people we're dating.
You said nope and no at the same time? Nope and no? Jeez. Nope, no.
No.
Ouch.
I'm being shut down.
But think about just that small little situation. Just a small conversation and just definition of what something is can really cause a ripple effect in our communication, how we deal with each other. So it's good that you guys are able to be at home. Those that are in relationships can be at home and really have those conversations that we need to have. But because we're so busy dating or running and don't want to have this question, ask this question too soon or whatever, now you're faced to do nothing but have a conversation. And I feel like, and this is just me, anybody can disagree, there's not a man on this earth that's going to be able to sit in my face and try to say he is interested in me and date me, that there's a question I cannot ask you. And if you are in a relationship and you are giving someone yourself, how are you afraid to ask a question of that person? And I think a lot of women are afraid to ask questions because they're afraid of the answers.
Wow.
You have to ask those questions as quickly as possible. And if you feel like you cannot ask that question or it's inappropriate, then you're not supposed to be with that man.
Absolutely agree. And I feel like your only purpose of dating is to find out if you're the one. If you're not the one, it is a good time to leave. And once you figure that out, tap out. Ade, I wanted to pivot real quick. Anthony, I think D-Bell, when you were talking about leaving the person at the car dealership, the person that leaves get the best deal, Anthony said that is the wrong way to look at a relationship, in my opinion. You want to explain yourself, sir?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like you're looking at a relationship as very transactional. It's like something for something. And a lot of people don't get into relationships for that reason. It's about something that they want to do. It's not about something that they're looking to get all the time. So for me, I don't I don't look at women. I don't look at women in the sense of what can they do, or this is not a car dealership. This is not, a business transaction. It's more of a friendship for me, at least.
Right.
So I can't speak to everybody, but I don't deal in that way.
Let me address that. When I say unwilling to leave, I'm talking about the level at which you will sacrifice who you are to be with somebody because you have needs. The more needy you are, the more transactional the relationship will be. So if I'm coming to a relationship and I've settled my identity, I've settled my dignity, and I'm not going to let you make that be vulnerable. So going back to, there's questions I'll ask because I'm strong enough to leave this if this isn't what works for me. And so what I've found, and terms of the people that I wind up counseling, and I've been doing this now for 40 years, the most toxic effects from a relationship are because you stayed too long, not because they were evil.